Hey, it's Bob out here at Serenity Hill. It's a beautiful, rainy, gloomy, kind of cold day, but I am underneath the roof and dry. So, at any rate, what I'm doing today, let me grab my plans here, is thought I would show you the plans if I can get hold of them. Got my gloves on. I came across these at Menards. They're called Igloo. I was out here working the other day, and it was cold. I was wearing leather gloves, and it seemed like they were just transmitting the cold right into my hands. So I was looking for something different. Well, these are polar fleece. They're called Igloo. Got these at Menards. I think they were on sale for like $4 or something like that. But they're made out of a thin polar fleece material. They got some grippy texture stuff on the palms and on the fingers, and they fit real nice. They let me grip things well. They don't transmit the cold, and I'm really liking these things. Now, they would not work very well in the wet because, they're fabric, but for out here in the cold and being able to do things, I think I'm going to have to next trip to Menards, buy a couple more pair before they run out. Igloo, polar fleece gloves with grip. They work great. Keep my hands warm, let me grip things, don't get in the way like leather gloves do, and they don't transmit the cold. So these are good gloves. I'm really liking them. At any rate, my plans, you can see this, are for the built-in unit that's going between these two columns and the end wall there. And what I'm doing is see where it says TV. That's where the TV will go. It's sized. We have a 60 or 62 inch TV, but it's sized for a 65 inch in case we go bigger someday. But the two shelves directly underneath the TV will be for stereo and possible satellite equipment, whatever. Finally have a home for those. I'll put outlets in each of those shelves. I'll also put an outlet for the TV, and then to the narrow shelves to the side of it fill out the space between the TV unit and the outside wall, and then the other section will fill in almost to the column. It'll come to right about here, and then you see a space till the next column. That'll be wall, and then just on the other side of this column is where I'm going to be building a coat closet. So all of from about halfway between the two columns and the coat closet will be a solid white drywall wall that Deb can use for a family picture wall. That's something she's always wanted, and I thought white drywall would be good for that, and it'll be a nice contrast to the wood. And what I'm working on right now is I've got a couple of my side pieces, well, all of the pieces for the TV section and the shelf next to TV, I've got them done. I cut my slots for the shelves to fit in with a plunge router and a straight cut bit. Now the fun part is the straight cut bit is 5/8. You've got either a 5/8 or 3/4 inch. I've got 3/4 inch plywood, which is actually just a little over 11/16. So I had to do 4 passes with this. I'm taking out 1/2 inch of material, took out about a 1/4 inch, and then dropped it down, took out another 1/4 inch, and then I had to move down a 1/16 of an inch, a little over 1/16 of an inch, to make the slot wide enough for the plywood. I'll show that process when I do the ones for the bookshelf to the right of the entertainment center, or to the left. That'll be a 4-foot wide section. At any rate, what I'm doing right now is I've put some pre-stain conditioner on, and I'm getting ready to wipe that off and then start putting stain on. So I will set this thing up on the tripod and I will let you be bored to tears with watching me apply stain and see the magic as this pine 2x12 becomes an English chestnut color. All right. First step is to wipe off the excess. Doesn't look like much excess. It absorbed it pretty well. All right. So in my infinite wisdom, I realized here I am getting ready to do stain and I left my nitrile gloves in the sprayer. So I think I will put some gloves on before I start to stain. That way I don't end up with stain all over my hands. It's not that I'm worried about so much about people going, ooh, you look horrible with all that stain on your hands. It's just it's oil based and it's not good to get on your skin. All right, so I'm sure somebody will say, oh, you're doing it wrong. But taking a pass with the grain, trying to get as uniform as I can, where this stuff is really soaking it up, even with it being so humid out. And staining is not my favorite thing to do. This is probably better than when I usually do it when it's 80 degrees out and the stain dries almost immediately when I put it on, and then it's really hard to rub off the excess when you get done. And this is actually a part of the bookshelf unit. It's to the left side. It's also the center support. So it's got notches on both sides. It's got notches for the TV section and notches for the bookshelves. That's part of why I'm using 2x12 material, is that way I can take out 1/2 inch deep notches for my shelf, and I've still got some meat there. Had I used a thinner material, I wouldn't have that luxury. Also, there's going to be wall on the top of this because this is 8 foot tall, and the ceiling height at this point is actually a little over 10 foot. So there'll be like a 2 foot wall on top of this. And what I will be doing is, go ahead and I'll put a beam across the rafters, and then I will put studs between the top of this and that wall. So in effect, this will be both a built-in bookshelf, and it will also carry some of the weight from the roof. So I figured 2x12s would be plenty sufficient for being able to do that. Staining is such wonderfully delightful work. I haven't used the pre-stain in the past, and I've regretted it because this really is going down nice compared to doing without the pre-stain. The pre-stain is recommended for forest woods like pine, fir, poplar, spruce, things like that, birch, things that are open pore. It's not necessarily recommended for, necessary for the oak, but I'm really tempted to go ahead and use it for the oak plywood because it has a pretty open grain. See, I think I'll test it on the back side of one to see whether I like it better with or without the pre-stain. This is going to be the front side of it. I'm going ahead and staining this, even though once I get the unit, once we get all the walls done and start the trim work, what I'm going to be doing is the front side of this will have molding on it, and the bookshelves, the shelves themselves, which will be 3/4 inch plywood. That way it'll cover the end grain of the plywood. But I'll go ahead and stain this. I just won't put a finish over it. I'll go ahead and stain it so that it doesn't stick out like a sore thumb until I do get a chance to put the molding on it. And I have a knack for landlocking myself and getting myself in a position where it's hard to work. I'll make this work. probably the only thing more boring than staining is you watching this thing. Now I know it would be nice to use, furniture grade wood in the whole thing. I'm using plain old, basically stud grade 2x12. You might say, why in the world did you do that? It won't look as pretty. Well, you can still go ahead and it takes a lot of sanding. I've got a lot of time in sanding this to get it just as smooth as can be. I sanded first with some 80 grit. And then I used 120, and then I used the 220 grit. Try to get it as smooth as possible. About the time I get the stain all on this board, which this one I'm doing right now is actually the shelf that the TV will sit on. So I want to make sure I get it real nice because it's going to be exposed. And again, the edge of it that's going to be exposed is going to have some nice oak molding on it to cover it. Well, I hear that rain coming down. It makes me really appreciate having a dry space to work. Ooh, I'm liking that. Gives a little darkness, but it's not so dark that it's foreboding, you know. And I really like the way that that took the stain after that stain hit it. So people might say, well, why didn't you choose boards that were clear? Well, I think that sometimes the knots and the mars in the wood provide some character. So I left the knots. Well, that comes out nice and easy. I left the knots in it on purpose. There were a couple pieces of wood that I actually chose because I liked some of the pattern that the knots left. And the grain in it. You know, I love the grain of oak more, but you know, I am having to kind of watch the budget, and trying to make this out of oak would have cost me more money than than I have to spend. So nothing wrong with using some pine. Yeah, I'm really liking the way this looks. I'll get the camera to show you in a minute, so you can enjoy it too. And I'm glad I used my gloves. Although I will tell you, I should have bought more rags. That is for sure. Now, since this is an oil-based stain, reading the care and disposal instructions, it does tell you that these rags, with this pre-stain and the oil-based stain, that these rags can spontaneously combust. So I will not be leaving these laying out in the house. In fact, it says that the proper way of disposing of these is to put them in a container, in a water-filled container. So I will have to find me a container that would be suitable for that purpose. Yeah, I'm liking that. I'm liking that a lot. It's got a little bit of a reddish color to it, but I like it. Okay. Time for another rag. I dropped that one on the floor. Do you hear that rain? It's nice to be in a dry spot. Have a dry spot to work in. Instead of being out in that rain. Now after this stain dries, I'll have to flip this and do the other side. All right, so that's what it looks like after the stain soaks in and I rub off the extra. You see right here, there's a little hole. I opted not to fill that in, to let that have have some character. I may fill that with some epoxy, some clear epoxy later, to keep so it doesn't trap dust, but I really like the graining around that. And also here's another one. It provides a nice graining. Yeah, it's a little unevenness in the color, but I just think it really provides some nice kind of character and touch to it. And then here's the shelf that the TV is going to be on. And again, the nice knots in it provide some character, some interest in the grain structure, and the stain picks that up real nicely. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. That's just one coat of stain, and I think that'll be plenty. That'll get the color that I want, and we'll make it look really nice. All right, well, get these out of the way and get some more up here and start them.